February 23rd, 2008, Lake Barrington, Illinois. A bizarre tale of desperation, deception, and murder.
This was one of those crimes where nothing was as it seemed.
This murder resulted in two separate cases that converged at an amazing plot twist.
The man behind it all, 39-year-old Ari Squire.
Ari had dug himself into a deep, dark hole. And when he hit bottom, that was when he discovered something that he thought would take care of everything.
Ari watches an episode of the true crime show Forensic Files and finds an answer to his problems.
He saw the blueprint for how to commit what he thought was the perfect murder.
But the same plot that serves as Ari's inspiration will also be the one that comes back to haunt him. 46-year-old Illinois resident Denise Squire is in the midst of a terrible crisis.
911, Lake County Sheriff.
I think my garage is on fire.
Where are you at? What's your address?
But sometimes fires aren't accidents.
Stay on the line while we get fire on the phone, okay? Are you out of the house?
Yeah, no, I'm in the house. I just heard some noise, and I'll open the door, and it's all black smoke.
This crime really came full circle. It was shocking how it all ended up. I've never seen anything like it.
In his mind, he didn't have to do hard work because he felt he was smarter and better than the average person.
Denise Squire and her 39-year-old husband Ari seemingly have it all.
Ari Squire was the kind of guy that everybody liked to do business with.
Ari was doing pretty well for himself. He had a construction company.
Employees loved him. He seemed like he was an easygoing guy. He paid well. He was friendly.
No one had a bad thing to say about Ari. He was that kind of guy that you could depend on. He was a hard worker, someone that you wanted on your side.
Ari's successful business affords him the finer things in life.
Ari was living the American dream. He had a beautiful wife. He was financially secure. They had a beautiful home.
Ari loves being in charge at the office, but when he comes home, his true passion lies in his 2,300 square foot garage.
He was able to build out a garage that was frankly bigger than most houses most Americans will ever see.
Ari's big passion is working on diesel trucks. He loves the diesel truck race circuit. He likes getting the trucks ready for it. That's why he builds a huge garage next to his house for him to work on his trucks. It was the ultimate man cave.
Through thick and thin, Ari's wife Denise is always by his side.
Ari and his beautiful wife, Denise, have been married 14 years. Ari met Denise when she was working for Ari's dad. The chemistry was pretty undeniable.
She's as devoted to him as he is to her. This is a good-looking couple, they're healthy, they've got a lot of money, and they've got a lot of living to do.
Although Ari seems to be living the good life, he has everyone fooled.
Ari appeared to have it all. And it was important for him to keep up appearances.
Even when business isn't going well.
He built up this carefully crafted facade, but actually it was all based on a house of lies.
In 2007, Ari is charged with committing Medicare fraud.
Before owning and operating his construction company, Ari ran a healthcare company. He used that healthcare company between 1998 to 2001 to secretly pocket $2.3 million.
Instead of admitting guilt, Ari uses his wealth to hire a lawyer and fight the charge. The litigation puts him and Denise at odds.
Hey, Ari, I gotta talk to you about this. What's going on, Ari? This is the third time that we've gotten the exact same bill.
Ari and Denise wound up spending about $200,000 to fight these legal charges. But when it became clear that they weren't going to win, they decided to settle. And they wound up spending another $200,000 in restitution.
For his crimes, Ari was sentenced to 5 years probation. He was put on house arrest for 6 months.
The lawsuit exposes Ari.
His construction company loses business and his credibility goes out the window.
And worst of all, Ari and Denise are now drowning in debt.
This couple went from being very well off to near bankruptcy, not being able to afford the luxuries that they had gotten used to. And it was a big adjustment for them both, and neither was happy with their lowered station in life.
Ari tries desperately to stay afloat.
Ari fires his legal team, and I'm sure he laid off people at work. He's losing money. But he kept his trucks, and he kept up his lavish lifestyle. He was trying to keep from going bankrupt without losing the illusion that he was living a perfect life.
But soon, the strain on their bank account is too much for Ari and Denise. With his career all but over, Ari's marriage also begins to collapse.
In most marriages, you accept that there's going to be emotional burdens. But when there's emotional burdens and there also are financial burdens, they really tend to damage a marriage.
At first, Denise sticks by his side. But after a while, it becomes too much for her.
What do you want me to do?
I'm just so sick of this.
Why don't you get a second
The fact that people would look at them differently if they didn't appear in the same glamorous and well-off ways, it just caused friction and caused a lot of upset between the two.
Sick of it. I'm sick of you.
At home, the couple is married in name only.
Ari and Denise don't speak as much. There's no love lost between this couple. They don't sleep in the same bed. They merely exist together.
Everything in Ari's life is falling apart.
Ari starts to crack under this pressure. His life seems to be slipping through his fingers. He can't get a break anywhere, it seems to him. And he starts trying to think of how to turn it around.
He's willing to do just about anything to get his life back.
Ari, at his lowest point, is looking for a way out of this financial hole. And that's when he happens upon a true crime TV show called Forensic Files.
Forensic Files is a TV series that puts viewers in the middle of a real-life crime scene.
Forensic Files introduced the true crime genre to our society as we know it, and I think that was the beginning of a lot of fascination with these very real crimes.
Ari happens to catch an episode of Forensic Files that's all about a guy named Madison Rutherford.
Madison was a wealthy financial advisor, and he had made some bad investments that put him in a pinch. Madison decided that the only way out of his situation was to steal his neighbor's life savings and fake his own death.
Madison robs a grave in order to pass the dead body off as his own.
Madison travels to Mexico, where he digs up a body that he thinks is close enough to his own that people will believe it when he burns it up in a car.
To anyone else watching Forensic Files, this guy was repulsive, evil, and greedy.
But to Ari, the scheme presents a genius idea.
Ari connected with Madison because of the fact that they both seemed to be going through a very rough time. And he looked at that character on television in a reenactment and thought to himself, if that guy can make it work, I can too. And this is how I'm gonna do it.
Ari watches Madison's episode of Forensic Files on repeat.
He watches it over and over and over, and he becomes obsessed with every detail. He wants to know every detail of how Madison committed this crime.
Ari notices that he has a lot in common with Madison. They're about the same age. They both love money. They both love spending that money on themselves. They have expensive tastes and hobbies.
And both Ari and Madison Rutherford funded their lifestyles with greed and fraud.
When you're watching the episode, most people would watch this for entertainment and see how someone had committed a crime and then got caught. Ari looked at it as a plan that he could utilize to help him become successful again.
Ari knows he's capable of copying Madison's crime. He thinks he's already one step ahead.
Watching that episode not only gives him the idea of committing that crime, but it proves to be a guide to how to do it, how to pull it off.
Ari watched that episode repeatedly because he wanted to focus on the things that worked as well as find all of the little things that didn't work in Madison's plan and improve on them.
Ari believes if he can fake his own death like Madison, his money troubles will be over.
Ari takes inspiration from this true crime TV show to collect his own $5 million insurance policy.
Ari knows the only way he's going to get his hands on that money is if the insurance carrier really believes he's dead.
But Ari's copycat plan has a twist.
Ari does not want to go to Mexico and dig up a grave. He needs something local, something easier, something he can plan while no one is looking.
Ari thinks it's going to be pretty easy to collect a $5 million life insurance policy. All he's got to do is kill somebody.
Ari Squire, a once well-respected businessman, is now in serious trouble.
Ari had it all: a profitable business, a big bank account, a happy marriage, until he was caught pocketing $2.3 million in an insurance scam.
It appeared that Ari had all this money and was living the high life, but in reality, he was paying lawyers. He was nearly bankrupt. The guy was broke.
With his marriage on the rocks and his reputation all but destroyed, Ari turns to a crime he's seen on a television show. He believes it might be the answer to getting his life back on track.
Ari watched a Forensic Files episode of a financial advisor called Madison Rutherford.
Madison is a financial advisor who lost everything and faked his own death.
Ari connected with Madison because he felt he could relate to what he was going through. Madison was under financial pressures, and Ari was under financial pressure, so he saw himself as a kindred spirit with Madison.
Madison steals a body from a grave, places it in his car, and lights the vehicle on fire.
Madison puts his medical alert bracelet in the car because he needs there to be some identifying objects there. Madison is hoping that once his car was discovered with those items, he would be presumed dead.
And then Madison will start a new life with money he's stolen.
Just like Madison, Ari knows that in order to start his new life, he's got to get his hands on that insurance money. And just like Madison, he knows that in order to do that, he's got to fake his own death.
So Ari gets the brilliant idea, well, why don't I just burn a body that's like mine and collect an insurance policy?
Ari's insurance policy is worth close to $5 million, a fortune that could cure all of his financial problems.
Desperation can do a lot to a man like Ari. He saw the blueprint for how to commit what he thought was the perfect murder.
Although Ari thinks Madison's idea is brilliant, copying it is proving harder than it looks.
As a result of getting caught for insurance fraud, Ari is put on probation, and his life is literally under a microscope. I mean, everybody's watching his every move. He's only allowed to go certain places. So, all eyes are on Ari at this point.
Complicating matters more is the fact that time is running out for Ari.
Ari had a tight deadline he was up against. He was about to turn 40, and that was going to quadruple his annual premium for these life insurance policies. He was not going to be able to keep up that payment, and he'd default on the policy. So he had to collect on those before he turned 40.
Ari decides he has no choice. He either collects the money now or loses it forever.
In Ari's mind, it was crystal clear. The only way out of this mess, to save his marriage and to continue living the lavish lifestyle that he had become accustomed to, was to fake his death to get that insurance money.
Without telling his wife Denise, Ari begins to plan his own death.
He makes Denise the sole beneficiary of his life insurance policies, and he drafts a series of letters to Denise. All of these she's to find after his death. Ari hides these letters in a cabinet in his office.
Ari then moves on to phase 2, finding a body that resembles his own. But he isn't going to rob a grave to do so.
Ari's not about to go dig up a dead body. He's gonna do the kill himself, and he thinks it's gonna be somebody local, something that he can do quickly. Ari's not about doing a lot of work. He wants to do the easiest thing to get him the most money.
He starts to frequent local stores, hoping to find a candidate for his copycat crime.
Like a tiger on the prowl, Ari begins to search for prey. He needs somebody who looks like him and looks enough like him that when he passes off their body as his own, it'll be believable.
The victim's gotta look like Ari, 39 years old, average height, average weight.
This wasn't just to murder anyone on the street for the pleasure of killing. He wanted to murder so then he could have a life. But it really is predatory. It's just finding someone who looked like him to fill his shoes so then he could be killed.
Ari searches all around town for someone to kill.
Ari doesn't want to try for anybody who's too close. So with that decision, he's eliminated all of his own employees. It would be too easy to trace them to Ari eventually.
He looks at his neighbors and feels they are just too close in proximity to him.
Then Ari has an idea.
So Ari goes into a home improvement store, and he realizes he's hit the jackpot. First of all, he owns a construction company, and the home improvement store is one of the few places that he is allowed to go while under house arrest. And the store is full of men kind of like Ari. So he can actually conduct his search without anybody knowing who he is.
Every day, Ari goes to this home improvement store. He stalks the aisles up and down, wandering aimlessly, just looking like any regular shopper. But in reality, he's stalking prey.
Ari thinks if he finds a guy that looks like him, he can offer him a job at his construction company, lure him in with the promise of big money, and kill him.
And that's when the stars seem to align for Ari.
While on one of these stalking expeditions, Ari stumbles upon exactly what he wants. He sees a gentleman about his age, same height, same weight, same body shape, and to be honest, they look similar enough to each other that any random person could mistake one for the other.
Ari strikes up a conversation with the home improvement employee, and the employee thinks he's just doing his job. He has no idea that he's face to face with the guy whose sole mission is to kill him.
Ari Squire is hunting for a new identity, like a killer stalks its prey.
Ari was found guilty of insurance fraud to the tune of $2.3 million. He's headed toward bankruptcy. He spent all his money on lawyers trying to defend himself unsuccessfully.
Ari's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. His life's pretty much in shambles, and he's depressed until he watches an episode of the Forensic Files that changes everything for him.
On the true crime TV show, the case of financial advisor Madison Rutherford gives Ari hope that there's a way out of his troubled life.
Madison lost everything prior to faking his own death. Instead of paying his dues in a legal way, Madison ends up in Boston under a different identity, living a totally normal life.
And now, Ari's hoping to copycat the scheme. He's planning to kill someone in order to fake his own death and then use their identity and his insurance payout to start over.
Ari's got a $5 million insurance policy, but he's almost 40 years old. And once he turns 40, that premium is gonna go up. And Ari can't afford the premium. So he's gotta make his move quickly or risk losing that insurance policy.
Once Ari decided that he had to commit murder, and he had to find someone who looked like him, then this kind of detective work took over.
Ari stalks a home improvement store until he finds the perfect victim. His name is Sandy Lively.
Okay, yeah, this is good stuff, man. I use it for projects all the time.
Sandy looks just like Ari. He's the same age, same build, facial features almost identical. Ari knows this is the guy he's got to get back to his house and kill. This is the guy that's going to make his plan work.
Ari sets the trap. One day, he approaches Sandy at work. And then he makes Sandy an offer.
Hey, I got a job, okay? All these other guys right now, they're lined up to get this job. Let me tell you something. I don't think they're qualified as you. $60,000.
You're kidding me.
Oh, no.
60 grand?
60 grand. I mean, what are you getting here, huh?
Not even half that. Right?
Ari still has his construction company. And what he does is he offers Sandy twice as much money as he's making at the home improvement store.
Sandy was a married man with kids. He was trying to support his family on a salary from a home improvement store. So Ari's offer for more money was appealing to him. So Ari knew that and exploited it to what he thought would be his benefit.
Sandy agrees to consider the job offer. But with time running out, Ari grows impatient with Sandy's uncertainty. He begins to frequent the store daily.
Ari could be looked at as a stalker, but in actuality, since his goal is to commit murder, he really is a predator.
Ari needs to look like the body that's going to be found. So he spends his time trying to look more like Sandy so that when the body of Ari is found, even though it's really Sandy's body, nobody will question it. This is just a creepy, convoluted plot.
In order to steal Sandy's identity, Ari needs all the information he can glean about the man he's going to murder.
He thinks the way to do this is to simply put it on the job application. So he hands Sandy the application and says, fill it out and return it to me.
The application raises quite a few red flags.
It asked for things such as, do you have any tattoos? What are the locations? Do you have any scars? Height, weight, account numbers to your bank, PIN numbers to your ATM card. Who needs that anyway, let alone on a job application?
So Ari isn't just planning to use Sandy as a decoy. He's actually planning to assume Sandy's identity. So he needs all this personal information from Sandy so that he can fully assume Sandy's life. Right down to, helping himself to whatever Sandy's got in his bank account.
Sandy didn't like the job application. It's a little too personal. It's a little too intimate. It's a little too invasive.
Sandy agrees to meet Ari in person to discuss the offer since he is suspicious about the application.
Sandy, it's Ari. Just wanted to see what was going on.
But on the day Sandy's supposed to meet Ari for a chat, he fails to show up.
Call me back. Thank you.
Ari thought you could get anyone you wanted by offering them money. He felt any man has their price. You're looking at a lifelong individual who had been manipulating people all his life. So he felt he had become an expert at it.
It's me. You haven't called me back yet. I want to know what the problem is. You need to call me back as soon as you can.
Ari can't believe he's been stood up. He's outraged. He calls Sandy and lets him have it.
So Ari is fuming. The clock's ticking. He's found his perfect victim. and now the guy is not cooperating. But at the end of the day, Ari needs him. So he kind of calms down and he goes back in. He's like, hey, look, I'm really sorry. He's still trying to lure Sandy into his house, no matter how he has to do it.
Ari's situation is dire. He's desperate to get Sandy back on board, unless he can find someone else to take his place.
Hey, Sandy working?
Oh, no, he's out today.
Ari thought he was at rock bottom.
Can I help you?
You know what? Actually, I think you can.
But then he realizes there's another person who could fit this bill.
His name is Justin Newman, and although he's almost 20 years younger than Ari, he might still be a potential part of the Copycat scheme.
Justin tells Ari that he and his mom are living in a cramped apartment, and Justin's really excited. He wants to make money to help his mom get out, for them to have a better life in a bigger place.
Justin's age made him an easier target because he lacked world experience. All he was looking for is to make more money. So Ari saw an individual that he could easily manipulate.
Justin's young, he's hungry, he's eager for more work and better pay. Unlike Sandy, who let his weirded out feeling detract from the fact that Ari was offering money, Justin is just willing to go along because he wants to earn more.
Look, this is my business. That's my address. That's where my office is, okay? It's out of my garage, all right? Come on, check it out, okay?
Ari is still hopeful that Sandy will come through, but he sets up a meeting with Justin, just in case.
Tuesday, right? Yeah.
I think the reason he did it is because the choices were so limited. I think he thought it's this way or no way. For Ari, Justin was just another object that he could prey upon. I don't believe these guys, Sandy or Justin, were ever viewed as humans.
Ari believes the hard part is over. He's found 2 potential victims. Now all he needs to do is pull off the perfect murder.
Sandy is his perfect victim. But he's also got Justin. And what Ari has learned is all he needs is one unsuspecting victim.
But which man will it be? Ari Squire is minutes away from copying a one-of-a-kind crime.
Forensic Files dedicated an episode to the life and crime of financial advisor Madison Rutherford. Madison thought that he had faked his own death and insured a way that he could live off of his insurance policy as well as his friends' life savings for the rest of his life.
Off-screen, Ari believes a smarter way to start over is to kill someone and steal their identity.
Ari's plan is to lure his victim back to his house, kill him, set him on fire, make the police believe it's Ari's dead body, and then skip off with his millions from his insurance policy and whatever money he can steal from the victim.
He's promised fake jobs to 2 men he's met in a home improvement store.
Now, Ari's main target remains Sandy. However, Justin's definitely interested in this interview. He's got a backup to make sure that no matter what happens, he's got a body.
And lucky for Ari, one of his targets takes the bait. It's Justin. He thinks Ari's job offer is too good to pass up.
Ari really wants Sandy to show up because Sandy looks like him. But Sandy just wasn't having it, and he blew off the interview.
Ari has done his part to lure his prey to his lair where he can kill. And he's got Justin there. It's his second choice, not his favorite choice, but it'll do because he is desperate and he has to have a body. This is the body that showed up, and at this point, Ari is going to make it work. This is the body that he's going to use.
Ari surprised Justin with chloroform. He came up behind him and wrapped a towel around his mouth.
This moment for Ari had to be the pinnacle of the past many months. This moment for Ari represented an end to all of his financial worries. He could be a new person and be done with it all. This had to be an incredible opportunity in his twisted, depraved mind.
In Madison Rutherford's crime, he stages the dead body inside his car.
To tie himself to the body at the scene of his fake death, Madison tossed in his watch and his medical alert bracelet. Then Madison sets it on fire. He wanted the police to believe that he had died in his car that day, and it would be an open and shut case.
In his garage, Ari copies the show's main subject.
Ari removes Justin's clothes, takes off his own clothes, and switches what each body is wearing. And then Ari goes and jacks up one of his diesel trucks. He puts the body of Justin beneath the truck and he releases the jack.
Justin is killed instantly when the truck falls on him. It just crushes him, it ruptures his heart. It was a horrible death.
Then, Ari covers up his tracks by making the murder appear to be an accident.
Ari wants police to think that he was working on the truck and the jack fell or slipped somehow, causing the truck to fall and crush Ari.
Ari sets up the scene to look like when the truck fell, it knocked over a lamp, started a spark, which started the fire.
To make sure that nobody could identify the fingerprints or the face that's Ari under that truck, Ari decided to also start a fire. To create this scene, Ari douses Justin in gasoline.
Ari commits the murder and sets up the scene, and then he lights the garage on fire.
With Justin's cell phone and wallet in Ari's pocket, he steals Justin's car and escapes from the fiery blaze. Shortly after, Ari's wife Denise wakes up and is shocked to see her garage engulfed in flames.
911, Lake County Sheriff.
Hi, I think my garage is on fire.
Stay on the line while we get fire on the phone, okay? Are you out of the house?
Yeah, no, I'm in the house. I just heard some noise and I'll open the door and it's all black smoke.
As firefighters arrive to fight the blaze, Ari drives to a hotel in Missouri.
Along the way, he buys a prepaid credit card in Justin's name. He buys some blue contact lenses, and he gets some blonde hair dye to transform himself into Justin.
While hiding out at the hotel, Ari texts Justin's mother from her son's cell phone.
So Ari knows Justin lives with his mother, and he doesn't want Justin's mom wondering where her son is. So he pretends to be Justin. He sends a text message to his mother to let her know that he's not coming home.
He takes Justin's cell phone and texts Justin's mother. "Oh, I've got a job, Mom. I'll be back in a week."
I'm sure in Ari's mind, anything is possible. He had scammed and schemed before, and he thought he could pull this one over.
But Justin's mom knows her son well. It isn't like him to leave in a hurry.
He thinks he's fooling everybody. What he doesn't know is that Justin's mom wasn't fooled by that text message. Something didn't seem right to her, and Ari doesn't know it, but Justin's mom has filed a missing persons report.
As Madison Rutherford experienced after he fakes his death and flees, everything begins to spiral out of control. At first, the police believe Madison is the burned body trapped inside the car.
Upon further inspection, it appears that the body is of a different race. After they test the corpse's teeth and bones, they are sure that this is not Madison Rutherford.
Days after the fire, detectives working the crime scene back at Ari's house are coming to the same conclusion.
what the police and detectives found was there were a lot of clues that just weren't adding up. First, they realized the power was turned off prior to the fire. So the fire could not have started with the lamp because there was no power.
Another thing that struck the police as odd was there was a large amount of gasoline around the body, more than Ari would have had just by naturally working on the truck. It looks to them like somebody poured gasoline around the body and then lit it on fire.
Detectives aren't quite sure what they're dealing with, so they keep the case open while they investigate further. Meanwhile, with Ari on the lam, things go from bad to worse.
What Ari doesn't know is that a local law enforcement officer who does routine checks of cars in motel parking lots is running plates.
When he checks the license plate on Ari's stolen car, he becomes suspicious.
The police officer runs the license plate and a missing persons report comes up.
According to the missing persons report, the license plate on the car Ari is driving belongs to a missing man, Justin Newman.
The officer's alarmed. Did he just locate this missing person? And what is he doing a state over from where he lives?
The officer then goes to the hotel clerk and finds out that a Justin Newman did check in to room 133. The police officer recognizes this lead and goes over to room 133 to see what he can find.
Inside the room, Ari knows everything he's been working toward is at risk.
Mr. Newman!
In Ari's mind, this was a gamble. It was then, now, or nothing.
But the police have no idea that Ari has a gun, and he's planning to use it.
He's gotta be panicked. He knows none of this has worked. It's worse than just being in debt. Now he's a murderer.
Ari Squire has killed Justin Newman in order to steal his identity and start his life over.
Ari was facing bankruptcy, and his whole world was coming crashing down. So he copied a TV show that provided him with what he thought was the perfect solution to his problems. He thought it would provide him a way to start his whole life over again.
In the crime, a financial advisor named Madison Rutherford faked his own death for a second chance at life.
Madison definitely thought that he was getting away with the perfect crime, but ultimately he did not.
As for Ari, a routine search has the police knocking at his hotel door.
The officer knocks on the door and has no idea. Instead of Justin, he's actually knocking on the door of Justin's murderer.
Inside his hotel room, Ari has come prepared.
Ari's got a gun with him, and at this point, he's prepared to use it to escape whatever's coming for him on the other side of that door.
Mr. Newman, it's the police, open up! I'm gonna go in.
Then, the unthinkable happens.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Ari used the gun to kill himself. He just couldn't face more debt, prison time. He's committed a murder. He doesn't want to answer to that. So he ended what was left of his life.
Ari's scheme, which in actuality was Madison Rutherford's scheme, wound up failing them both.
But what the authorities don't know is the true identity of the deceased body lying right in front of them.
The police find Justin's ID on Ari's body, but they notice it doesn't really match the dead guy they're looking at.
The cops recognize this is more than a suicide.
But for now, they don't know the key to solving the bizarre case. Luckily, in Illinois, police are one step closer to figuring out the mysterious garage death of Ari Squire. thanks to the TV series that inspired it all.
The detective on this case happened to be watching television. He happened to come across an episode of Forensic Files about Madison Rutherford.
So he's watching this show, and he's like, wait a minute. He's noticing the similarities. The money trouble, the dead body, the strange crime scene. It's all looking pretty familiar to him.
When it comes to Ari, the detective wonders, is he dealing with a copycat killer?
This episode is actually the case that blows the Ari Squire case wide open.
Detectives run Ari's dental records through the system. They don't match the body in Ari's garage. So detectives put an APB out about their suspicious death. And that's when they get their huge break in the case. Police learn about the suicide in the Missouri hotel room of a man supposedly named Justin Newman.
Ari thought he had covered all the bases. He registered the hotel room in Justin's name. He's got Justin's ID in his pocket. Justin's car is parked outside. But once he kills himself, forensics identify him as Ari. And his carefully laid plans go up in smoke.
Investigators determine Ari killed Justin in his garage and tried to pass the body off as his own.
It's a horrible, horrible loss for Justin's mother. She had a son who was totally innocent, and now she's left with nothing.
I get up every day and look at this picture, and I still cannot believe that it happened.
Ari's copycat murder has one more strange twist.
But this story has more to it. After Ari's death, police discovered he's emailing his wife.
Ari was emailing Denise, asking her how his funeral preparations were going and giving her instructions on where she could find the $5 million insurance policy.
Most people clearly feel Denise knew about the murder. In her defense, Denise claimed that she thought it was an automated email that would arrive to her following her husband's death.
With no evidence tying her directly to the crime, Denise escapes arrest.
Denise was never criminally charged in this scheme. But logically speaking, the plan just doesn't work without her involvement. Once she cashes the insurance money, without her involvement, Ari never gets to see a penny of it.
But Denise doesn't escape her husband's devious plan unscathed. Justin Newman's mother files a $6 million civil lawsuit against Denise for the wrongful death of her son, and wins.
Now, Justin's family did collect money in a lawsuit against Denise. But who cares about money? This is a family that would give anything, all the money in the world, just to be with Justin another day.
In the end of the story, police tracked down Madison Rutherford.
Madison was sentenced to 5 years in prison for conspiring to steal $7 million of life insurance with his wife. Madison's wife was also sentenced to 18 months in prison.
Although Denise avoids jail time, everything her husband hoped to gain from Justin's death led to their family's disgrace.
In Ari's last email to Denise, he says, "Is there anything else you need?" And she says, "A new life." And I mean, I guess they both got that, although not the one they were hoping for.